So Bree had a dinner party, and majority of the housewives, except for Susan, they were in the kitchen with the husbands. Tom's talking to people about how he used to be a tuba player. He was a dork, a nerd, and none of the cheerleaders would ever talk to him. They wouldn't give him the time of day. Now, Gabby used to be a cheerleader when she was in school. She says, "Oh, Tom, I would have given you the time of day." Tom's like, "No, you wouldn't have." Tom says, "In fact, I didn't even get my first kiss until I was 18 years old. I was that nerdy." So Gabby turns to Tom and she says, "On behalf of all cheerleaders," she grabs his cheeks, pulls him in for a big wet kiss. She lets him go. Tom falls back. He's all dramatic. "Oh, wow, wow." Everybody's laughing except for Lynette. So once the dinner party is over, they're clearing out and cleaning up. Lynette mentions to Gabby that she felt offended by the fact that she kissed Tom. The other people in the kitchen are like, "Oh, they were just playing. They didn't mean anything by it." Bree says, "You were an ex-model, Gabby. I could understand why a woman wouldn't want you kissing her husband." So later on that night, they're in the bed, and Lynette's telling Tom that she was pretty upset about what happened with Gabby. Tom's like, "It wasn't a big deal. We were all just playing. You're thinking too much into it." Then he asks her, "Do you think she meant anything by it?" Lynette says, "I'm not sure." Tom says, "You know what? Now that I think about it, a couple times I reached down for the paper, looked up and seen Bree Vanderkamp checking me out. All of these women, they all want me. Look at me." Lynette breaks out laughing and she says, "You know what? Thank you, Tom, because you helped me realize that nobody would really be interested in you except for me, because you're an idiot." So they snuggle up and go to bed. The next morning, Lynette is passing Bree on the street. She flags her down and she says, "Thank you for looking out for me last night at the dinner party with the whole Gabby and Tom kissing thing." Bree says, "Oh, yeah, I totally understand, especially given her history." Lynette's like, "What do you mean?" Bree says, "Oh, she probably wouldn't want me to tell anybody." Lynette's like, "Come on, just tell me." Ida Greenberg pulls up behind Lynette. She starts honking her horn. Lynette like, "Go around." So Bree starts telling Lynette how Gabby had an affair with her underage gardener. Lynette's like, "You're kidding. I had no idea." Now at this time, Ida Greenberg done rolled around Lynette up on the curb, giving her the stank face. And Bree says, "Yeah, I could totally understand why you wouldn't want her kissing on your husband, considering the fact that she stepped out on her marriage." So later on, Lynette goes to Gabby's house and she tries to make amends. Lynette says, "I'm sorry about the way that I reacted about the kiss, but surely you can understand why I will react in that way." Gabby says, "No, I really don't understand." Lynette mentions John, and Carlos is in the room. He's laughing at her because, it's kind of chickens coming home to roost. Now everybody found out about what you did. Gabby's offended. She's running a blender. She don't want to hear what Lynette has to say. They find their way through it. Lynette's like, "I was 99% wrong. There's that 1% though, but I was 99% wrong. Let's just squash it." Gabby says, "Okay, good." Then Lynette says, "You do understand what the 1% is, right?" And Gabby says, "No, I don't get why you were upset. It was stupid." So Lynette says, "Okay, now if a woman just grabbed your husband and just started kissing on him, you wouldn't feel no type of way." Gabby's like, "No, I don't care." So Lynette walks over and grabs a fistful of Carlos's hair and just slobs him down. The entire time they're kissing, it's about good 6-7 seconds. Gabby's like, "Okay, I'm not mad. Okay, that's enough now." So Gabby finally gets it. Lynette leaves because her point is proven. She can't not prove a point. And Carlos says, "That's what you get. People were going to figure out eventually." Gabby says, "Okay, that's enough. You know what? You can have an affair. Just have an affair with whoever you want to." So why later on that day, Carlos go over to Lynette's house talking about, "Hey, so that kiss, that was really something." Lynette's like, "Oh, yeah, I was just trying to prove a point." Carlos was like, "You can't fake magnetism like that." And that's like, okay. Carlos says, "Gabby gave me a pass to, be with somebody if I want to." And that says, no, thank you. I'm cool." Carlos like, okay.